As a youngster, Nick Clarke had the same dream as many young boys and girls of becoming a professional footballer. Nick made his dream come true, playing at professional level for Stockport County in the 80s. After hanging his boots up, Nick moved into a successful career in telecoms. However, on September 10th, 2012, everything changed for Nick after he suffered from a stroke. However, he's now using his story as a stroke survivor to help other stroke sufferers and their families with his charity, Stroke Information. I had the opportunity to speak to Nick about the charity and himself, as well as some truly inspiring patient stories.
My name's Nick Clarke. I used to play football a bit in the first half and a bit in the second half. That's my humour. I've even played at Old Trafford in front of 73,500. And you go, wow, and you go, not people, just seats. But no, I was in the internet industry, in the hosting side of things, and quite a successful career. And all of a sudden, I woke up on the Monday morning, went into the bathroom and collapsed. And my wife called the paramedics. The paramedics came out, and I can remember it like it was yesterday. Like they turned around and said he's having a stroke. I'm like, what? It just can't be happening to me. I'm like 42. It's not happening to people. I'm like, no, it can happen to anyone at any age, and this, that, and the other. So, yeah, after 4 weeks of being in hospital, my life changed completely. And even though that it's sort of kind of a negative thing, I don't. What I try and do is turn that negative into a positive, and that's why I started the charity to help other people that have been impacted by stroke.
So the charity, can you tell us more about Stroke Information, what kind of services you offer and who you look out for?
Yeah, I mean, basically, it's the full spectrum. So, whatever the person or family are experiencing, we will try and help them understand and appreciate. I mean, the easiest thing to say is we try and place the person in our shoes and vice versa, because we've been there. We know what traits to look out for. We know what somebody could be feeling, what the emotions, whether depression kicks in. So effectively, what we do is we pull on our experience, our life stories of what we've endured to hopefully make sure somebody else's stroke journey is nowhere near as painful as you like for ours, where there was no help and no support and guidance and motivation. We get involved with it all sorts, from benefit claims, appealing benefit claims, doing blue badge applications, bus pass applications, the full spectrum. But we also then will speak to the individual with about what they're actually missing, what they're wanting to do, what their goals are, and try and sort of set them realistic goals, and ones that are sort of small goals but not unachievable, and with the right mindset and the motivation and what have you, we've done pretty well so far. I mean, just recently, as recent as Friday, we've helped a 31-year-old who was discharged from hospital on Friday after 6 months being in hospital and having no support, didn't know where to turn to. We welcomed him into our group, into our WhatsApp group, and you know what? His actual words were something like, "I couldn't have done this without you. You've just given me that sort of motivation and encouragement to get better." And he sent us some pictures yesterday of him from leaving hospital with his bags packed. That's just one story. There's another story about a guy that was given 24 hours to live last August, and it was his wife that contacted us and we just embraced them, welcome to the group, and I eventually said to his wife, look, all you've got to do is give the perseverance, giving him some motivation, encouragement, and the best piece of encouragement I can give is never give up. And as I say, he was given 24 hours to live last August. About 3 weeks ago, he sent me a video of him walking in his adapted home on a Zimmer frame. But it was like, without being disrespectful to the medics and what have you, it was a massive 2 fingers sticking up at the people who effectively written him off. And to me, there's no better achievement. I mean, all our services are free. We don't charge, and we just. I mean, the way I see it with charities is that if somebody wants to donate to the charity, and they will do, if it's something that's close to the heart, they will do. We just want to do it so that we can help other people that have had strokes. And when you think about, excuse me, the numbers related, I mean, 153,000 a year. Gee, oh man. Even if you went further afield and you said globally, 17 million strokes happen a year. It's just scandalous. And especially with this day and age, with the way that things are, with especially the cost of living and everything at the moment, it's just like to reach out and just say, if you want our help, it's here. It's amazing. And that's effectively what the charity does.
Yeah, I watched your bio video as well yesterday, and I think one thing that stood out for me is how you highlighted how important it is to support families as well as the stroke survivor. I mean, personally, I know what it's like to be affected by a family member having a stroke. To see the family also being highlighted was massive. It's something I find like really, really important.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those that, and when it happened to me, when my two girls were both teenagers, one of them was going through her exams, and you can't help but think, I wonder what they were thinking. I wonder what they were going through. I wonder what, whether they were scared that it was going to be hereditary or what. I mean, I remember a case where a stroke survivor's son was watching him being hoisted in and out of bed, and he turned around to his mum and said, "Your dad's always going to be like this." And it's like, all right, we've not got an answer with the medical side of things, but we can turn around and say, with determination and with the right help and support, no, your dad's not always going to be like this. Your dad's just going through a temporary glitch. And the best sort of analogy that I effectively use as to get across to the young ones about a stroke is you effectively are a computer, and your computer's just had a massive virus, and it's just, it's trying to take part of the mainframe of the computer away, and you've got to fight back. And then, I read stories about neuroplasticity, and I'm not a geek, but I love it when there's success stories. I'm lucky enough to have a couple of friends that had strokes at an early age and became locked in, and all they effectively could do was blink their eyes. But again, through their own stories and their own challenges and their own sort of determination, they're both out of locked in now, and one of them's an actual full-time carer in Australia. To me, he's a miracle. And then, with another particular guy, we've got moved up from London to Stockport. I went round to see him, discovered that he had a passion for football, although he told me he was a Tottenham fan, so I didn't believe him. And found out that he was a steward at Tottenham before the stroke happened. And obviously with my connections with football, etc., I just said to him, John, would you ever consider being a steward at Stockport? And he went, oh, I'd love that. He said, I'd love it, but I've only got like one arm and that's of any use. He said, they won't want me. I said, leave it with me. So I went and spoke to ground safety officer, and I just said, look, it works as a double barrel, double-edged sword, that not only are we giving this person a chance, if we then show people that we're a all-inclusive employer, it worked wonders. And he's been there for 4 seasons and he loves it. I mean, he struggles, don't get me wrong, but we all do. But he's now, I'd probably say, about an 80% Tottenham fan, and I'd say he's 20% Stockport fan as well. So, from that point of view, especially with him being my hometown club, it's just great to see that we're able to do that. And I'd love to employ more, but it's just a question of like building it slowly and steady. It's like our mascot. Our mascot is Steady Eddie, which is a tortoise based on Aesop's fable, the tortoise and the hare, so that the one who takes the time gets there in the end. And it's like recovering from a stroke. And that's another part of the charity that I want to sort of really take off, and that's the education side of things, so that we can tell people in schools and universities not only these the signs to look out for. I mean, because I'll be honest, I don't think there's anybody better than the Stroke Association to sort of advise on the awareness side of things. But when you sort of can offer your lived experience on how to cope, how to manage, how to motivate, how to encourage, it'll go a long way. And I know that some strokes happen and people end up being fatally gone and they die, but we then want to also encourage the sort of education for the family members, because a lot of them that we've dealt with have said, was my dad in pain? And you just try and answer them and say, well, if I'm being completely honest, your dad would have been out of it. He wouldn't have felt any pain whatsoever. And if we can sort of establish that going forward, that sort of mantra, then we won't go far wrong, to be honest.
Do you think there's more needs to be done in the hospital stage? More support, better treatments. I know I spoke with the CEO of Stroke Association a couple of weeks ago, and they're wanting a 24/7 thrombectomy service, and I was amazed to learn that isn't available at the minute. Do you think the government needs to do more to fund hospitals with stroke treatment?
Without doubt. I mean, that's the interview I saw you with Juliet, stuff about thrombectomy, and it's great that sort of initiative is there, but it needs to be rolled out, and it needs to be rolled out in a sort of time scale. I mean, time is brain, effectively. So as quickly as they can sort of address it, then they need to. And yes, the funding it needs to be there.
To finish, Nick tells me a light-hearted story about a stroke survivor he helped to regain their voice.
we as I say, we helped this lad who was told he was given 24 hours to live, and then weeks later, well, a year later, a week or so, he sent this video. But I've experienced it firsthand back at the hospital, where we're in a day room with stroke patients, going around encouraging them to be the cognitive skills, and we're playing a simple game of hangman on a whiteboard, and the subject was food, and there was a couple of letters in the spaces, and we got to this one guy, and for the purpose of not incriminating that particular guy, we'll call him David. And we got to David, and I said, "Come on, David, you can do this." And he just looked and left. And the occupational therapist turned around at the time and said, "Oh, don't worry about David. David's in his late 60s. Don't worry about David. I don't think David will ever talk again." And I got a bit into hot water, because I turned around and said, "Excuse me? How do you know that he will not talk again? Unless medically you can show me that the neural pathway between his brain and his voice is broke, then don't rule him out. And anyway, I was quite a tenacious character, and I still am. And I thought, right, I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to really prove you wrong. So I started. We're going around the table again. I was playing a bit of a fool. When it got to David again, I just went, David, you can do this. And I was as though I was sending him a telepathic message. I mean, I wasn't, but I was pressing that hard that I nearly had a toilet accident myself. It was that bad. But David just looked at the board and he just went, lamb hot pot. And I was like, what? You know, we heard so many stories about people are being given up on, and what right have we as human beings to give up on other people? We haven't. So if we can try and help people through it, then great. And that's what we're all about.